All right, good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert here alongside meteorologist Stephen Elmore. We're tracking a severe thunderstorm that's right now in Delaware County. You can see that supercell has really taken shape near Grove Lake. Here's the community of Grove. That warning indicates that that storm may be moving off towards the east-southeast, and the reason that has me a bit concerned is that's going to be moving into the area that's likely still out there assessing damage, picking up the pieces. Right now, the warning is in effect for 60-mile-per-hour winds, as well as 1 inch in diameter hailstones. Looks like maybe that hail has actually come up just a bit, 1.25 inches. Nonetheless, a very strong thunderstorm could potentially skirt parts of northern Benton County. Going to have to watch this storm. It does have an interesting structure to it. But as of this moment, there's no rotation in this actual storm. We'll take a look at winds while we're here. There is a tornado watch in effect for Delaware, Benton, and Carroll counties until 9 p.m. this evening. No strong signals of any organized rotation, strong signals of a strong thunderstorm. And that's why we wanted to pop online here real quick. Just give folks an update. Number one, there's people that are probably a little anxious, just given the fact that what we had last night was very impactful to a lot of folks. So I wanted just to give you the information that we had here as we know it. We also know that the watch is in effect until 9 p.m. And so that's not bad data. That's not cell phones malfunctioning. There is, in fact, a tornado watch that includes Delaware, Benton, and Carroll counties. As we see this cold front eventually come through, out ahead of it, we're probably going to see a couple more thunderstorms just like this, potentially producing some severe weather. Of course, with the tornado watch, that tells us that the potential of a tornado is there. Could it change? Of course, right now we're not seeing any organized rotation. But right now the concern is all the folks that might be out and about cleaning up damage and debris. Maybe some folks without power, so we wanted to jump on Facebook to send that push alert to your phones and give you an update on what may be coming. I'm looking outside from many of our Bentonville cameras, and there's a lot of sunshine, and so this may catch some folks off guard. Stephen, if you could, let's back this out and let's put a track on it. Currently, this storm is moving at 30 miles per hour. It's a bit more east than southeast, but if you look at the warning polygon itself, that kind of gives us a general trajectory of where that storm may be moving. I think places like Bella Vista and perhaps Gravette probably take the brunt of that storm. Let's move it a little bit more towards the east. I don't think it's moving that far southeast. Let's come east-southeast. You might just have to redraw that at a different angle. Here's going to be the area where we probably have the hail right in here. I'm also starting to see some indications of what's called a flying eagle. It tells me there's a pretty strong updraft right there. Some winds getting blown to the opposite sides of it. That track looks pretty good to me. Let's put that at Dodge 424, Knoll at 434, Pineville at 453, Bella Vista 508, Bentonville at 521. Current time here is 4:13. This is the only thunderstorm that's out there in our neck of the woods right now. We do have some more thunderstorms in parts of Missouri, numerous scattered thunderstorms as well. I think it's going to be your next slide there. And so I'll show you those. Putting that into motion, you can see it's trying to take a bit of a right-hand turn, and that's what got me a bit nervous. Is not that there's any immediate tornado threat with this storm, but you start to see that southeasterly track. That tells me this storm may be trying to get its act together. Let's take a broader perspective, Stephen. I think you got some of those Missouri cells. You got another one. You got numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. Boy, look at all those warning polygons for parts of Missouri. We're on the southern flank of this, and that's why our tornado watch only includes those northern counties, Delaware, Benton, Carroll, and it does extend well into north central and northeastern Arkansas, where the potential for tornadoes is actually going to be a little bit more amplified here. We're overall on a relatively low end of the scale. The thing is, out ahead of this cold front, there's a lot of storm fuel, a lot of instability. There are certainly some other ingredients lacking, but there's so much storm fuel that minimally we're going to see some hail. That appears to be likely our biggest concern for today. Stephen, if you would, I want to show that watch. Let's get an idea of who's exactly in it. You can see here, run until 9 o'clock this evening. It does include Bentonville. It does include parts of Rogers. It does include Decatur, right? Unfortunately, those are the areas that were hit really hard early this morning with multiple tornadoes. And yet again, we've got another threat while people are literally still picking up their lives from the rubble that was left. Carroll County, Eureka Springs also in this watch, and you can see it extends well into parts of north central Arkansas. Does not include Washington, Madison, does not include the River Valley. Look, I wouldn't rule out a little bit of rain or some thunderstorms there, but overall, I think the threat is going to be further off towards the north. Did just get a report out of Delaware County of hail in excess of 1 inch in diameter. That's larger than quarters, and that's going to do some damage, and it's definitely going to hurt, right? So that's coming out of that specific thunderstorm. We'll take another look at live radar on it. What does it look like? It definitely has a concerning structure. Perhaps, though, based off of this newest warning, that would keep a lot of that storm in McDonald County. I don't see a situation, at least as of right now, just looking at a loop. I still think that may try to skirt far northern Benton County. I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see a warning issued for at least parts of Benton County, simply based off of the current trajectory of that. Lightning starting to come up. You got a bit of a hook echo there. Let's take a look at rotation just to make sure nothing's trying to pulse up on us. It's not really there. We're looking at the Tulsa radar, which is probably a smart move for us. Not seeing any concerning signs yet in terms of actual rotation. So I consider that good news, but we know how quickly these things can change, right? So we're going to stay on top of this specific storm as it does track into Benton County more than likely over the next few minutes. Let's put a track on it one more time based off of kind of where that organization starting to take place. A couple different areas of concern there. Yeah, I think that's a good track right there. These are estimated times of arrival. Southwest City, 4:34, Knoll, 4:46, Pineville, 4:57, Bella Vista, 5:11, Bentonville at 5:23. That's the only thunderstorm in our neck of the woods right now. But as we know, and as we learned this morning, it only takes one. I'm not seeing any immediate tornado threat. I know there are folks with some real storm anxiety, given everything we've gone through early this morning. So I just want to assure you at this moment, we're going to walk you through it. We know that there are a lot of folks helping others, helping our neighbors clean up. And you very well may have been impacted by this storm and just nervous. And so we want to give you some assurance that we're going to stay on top of this storm for you and just make sure nothing misbehaves. Right now, it's a damaging wind and a hail threat. Are getting reports from local emergency management from the Afton community. That's going to be in Delaware County, of hail larger than quarters. Which certainly checks out if you look at our radar detection. Here's Afton, where that quarter report came from, and that's continuing to show a pretty decent hail core, right? Certainly seeing some symbols, some signatures of that. This data is going to run a little bit behind, so the hail's probably inching a little bit closer to that Oklahoma-Missouri state line, and right now the current trajectory takes that east-southeast. A little bit more east than southeast, which perhaps is some good news for us, but I still think parts of northern Benton County may get clipped just a bit with that specific storm. I'm looking at some offhand radar data, which actually confirms that report that we just saw. That report shows that in excess of 1 inch out of Afton. Radar confirms that that's continuing to likely be our primary concern. We'll take a look at winds just to make sure we don't have anything damaging happening. And you start to see some brighter reds indicating, yeah, there could be something happening right there. It could be messy data. A couple of scans ago, right before we came on air, it looks like the data might have been what we call contaminated. We'll give it a few more scans to see if that changes. Right now, though, I would suspect large hail and some damaging winds coming out of that storm. It's probably going to clip extreme northern Benton County. Gravette may get close, Bella Vista may get close, and your primary concern at this point is going to be hail, and it's going to be damaging winds. Taking a look at that, let's loop that for the last 15 minutes. See if we can't garner some kind of idea of where this is going. Maybe this does actually stay just to the north of the state line. Looking over that last loop, may get close, certainly puts it close to Bella Vista, I do think we're going to be far too close for comfort with that specific storm. Bella Vista, your wind potential's there, your hail threat is going to be there as well. Your area of primary concern, you notice that classic hook echo right there. That doesn't necessarily mean it's rotating. It just means that supercell is certainly ingesting a lot of warm and humid air. And if you've been outside today, you know that it is very muggy. It's very warm. We're in the 90s in the River Valley. We're in the upper 80s in northwest Arkansas. Heat index values in the 90s all across the area. That cold front slowly coming in, and as it works its way our direction, you're having that classic battle of the air masses. Here's the good news for us. Once we make it past this evening's threat, that cold front's going to usher in enough dry air that we'll at least see a couple of days going into the first half of next week of much lower thunderstorm and much lower rain chances. Probably going to be dry for Monday and Tuesday. We just got to get this front to slide on out of the area and bring us that calmer weather pattern. We'll enjoy it for a couple of days. Taking a look at that live radar, very healthy supercell. A couple of things. It somehow looks like a bird flapping its wings. What's happening here, there's a very strong updraft, and those winds are getting blown around that updraft, and you can see the result of that. That's one of those indicators that tell us, obviously, it's got a strong updraft, but a strong updraft is what is going to support and develop hailstones. And I think we're getting reports continuing to see that with this specific storm. So a heads up to the folks that might be responding here in Benton County, maybe trying to spend the day with the sunshine you got to pick up the pieces. You just want to be weather aware. This is just coming too close for comfort, and that's why we want to just use our time wisely and give folks a heads up here on our digital platforms. Thank you for joining us. We're going to stick here until we can see that this storm is definitively going to avoid us or the threat passes. Right now, though, I am seeing maybe some signs that it's trying to turn back a bit more northeast. You see the newest warning for McDonald County. This was issued by the Weather Service out of Springdale. But at one point, the Tulsa Weather Office said, hey, you know what, that might be taking a bit of a southeasterly track. And you can see the orientation of that warning polygon from northeast, from Afton to the southeast through Grove. A lot of folks here on Grand Lake right now, I'm sure, just given the holiday, probably just had a pretty strong thunderstorm move through. Latest radar scans, as it continues to loop, shows that maybe this thing does try to take more of an easterly track, and maybe that does keep the bulk of that activity in Missouri, likely going to be McDonald County. I still think latest warning suggests it's moving nearly due east. Warning for Delaware County till 4:45. This warning from McDonald County. Stephen, if you could query that one for me. Let's see when that one's going to expire. .5:15. Okay, so about 30 more minutes for that. Really close to that Missouri-Arkansas state line. Okay, let's take a broader perspective. I don't think anything else has developed, but let's just double check while we're here. There's certainly plenty of opportunity for things to develop. We'll start in northwest Arkansas. Had seen a couple of cumulus towers trying to go up in Delaware County, not seeing any symbol of that right now. That's some good news. Well, let's check the River Valley. It's been pretty quiet. It's been very warm, very muggy in the River Valley. Not seeing anything on radar. If you could put visible satellite on, let's just get an idea of the cumulus field. We look at satellite to detect potentially developing thunderstorms. Not seeing anything here. Back to the River Valley. Let's just check to see. I bet we're going to have a bit more agitated cumulus field, which is basically those big white puffy clouds starting to pop up. And I bet that's what we're going to see in northwest Arkansas. That's exactly what we see in northwest Arkansas. You can see those right here on visible satellite. These are often a precursor to thunderstorms that try to bubble up, and not seeing anything in Benton County right now. Latest scan indicates to me, if we'll zoom in just a little bit further towards the north, tells me that that storm may try to stay in McDonald County. May. It's still too early to say for sure, but it's definitely taking a bit more of an easterly track as opposed to the southeasterly track that it was when we hopped on. And there may be a little bit of rotation trying to develop there. Very broad mesocyclone, which is not surprising just given the overall storm structure. that we're seeing there. Not seeing any definitive signs of rotation, or at least nothing strong enough that would prompt a tornado warning just yet. That very well could change in the coming minutes. These thunderstorms may take their time to get their act together. We don't expect a lot of coverage today. We don't, much like last night, it may be only 2 or 3 storms in our neck of the woods. I think once they make it into northeast Arkansas, even central Arkansas, there could be more coverage. That's where that front really encounters some more favorable ingredients that would support and sustain some supercells and some severe thunderstorms developing. Right now, this crossing into Missouri, area of concern would generally be here, but even as it is crossing that state line, you're not seeing as pronounced of a hook echo as you once were. That's a good trend for us. That hail threat is going to continue. Let's see what the latest hail is on this storm. I suspect we're still maintaining a pretty decent hail core. So minimally, we've probably got some dime size, some pea size hail, perhaps in the stronger areas. Okay, brand new severe thunderstorm warning. This is what I was afraid of. And this is really why we wanted to hop on. The track of this, taking this slightly towards the southeast, is going to be bringing it into an area that was hard hit early this morning by multiple tornadoes. You have a lot of emergency responders still trying to render aid, and you got a lot of civic and nonprofit groups helping folks go through their belongings, family and friends, of course, helping. It seemingly appears sunny outside. Taking a look from downtown Bentonville, I'm looking at Springdale, I'm looking at Fayetteville. It looks nice out there, but things are going to rapidly change as this thunderstorm moves through. This new warning in effect until 5:15 for north central and most of western Benton County, which the fact that they drew it the way they did tells me they also believe that that might try to take an east-southeasterly track. And should that happen, we're going to want to be very mindful of that. Right now, no actual rotation, at least not enough, showing up on radar that would warrant any tornado warning. It's early in this supercell's life cycle, though, and so I'm not going to necessarily let my guard down with this one specifically just yet. A couple of places that might be in the path of this: Rogers, Bentonville, Pea Ridge, Bella Vista, Gravette, Gateway, Hiwassee, Avoca, Centerton, Walnut Hill, LaRue, and Hilltop. Just to name some of those communities you can see here in orange for that severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take a look at winds. I just want to make sure we don't have anything rotation developing. So we're looking at the Tulsa radar. We're kind of far away from it. Let's bounce around. We have the luxury of time here. Let's see what it looks like from the Springfield. Still sampling pretty high up in the sky. Maybe there's something loose there, but that's so high up in the sky, so far away from the ground, the surface level, I'm not too concerned with that. Maybe let's try, if we can't get Fort Smith, what the data shows there. And you're certainly seeing a similar area there. Back to the Tulsa radar with that picture. You know, maybe in the mid-levels and the upper levels of that storm, it might have a little spin to it that's not necessarily uncommon for these supercells. Let's go back to the reflectivity and just make sure storm structure is not changing on us. And it actually does look like it is changing a little bit. It's not as iconic or as classic of a structure. It's not exhibiting a strong hook echo as it once was. I do think there might still be one developing on the backside of that storm. It's not where it was earlier, which is pretty common. As these storms grow and pulse up and they move, you often do see the structure change, perhaps some recycling, if you will. It's a very common thing with these supercells. Right now, the worst is in Missouri. The severe thunderstorm warning does include Gravette and Bella Vista, Bentonville, Garfield, Avoca, Hilltop, Hiwassee. The concern is that that storm is going to take an east-southeasterly track and move into Benton County. You put it in motion there over the last, this is 15 minutes here. It's really hard to tell. It's not necessarily moving too far southeast, but that's not to say that it can't make more of a turn over there. How fast is this moving, Stephen? 45? Okay, so yeah, it did look like it was moving quick. Maybe perhaps it's now slowing down. Stephen's going to put a loose track on this, and maybe a bit more to the east. Let's not necessarily follow their warning there. That's probably pretty accurate right there on its current trajectory. Griffin Ford, how about 430, Bella Vista 439, Jacket 446, Pea Ridge 451, Brightwater 458. I'm assuming that's Beaver Lake more than likely, parts of Beaver Lake anyways, 511, Eureka Springs 515, Grandview at 522. You're probably going to have a strong thunderstorm moving through your neck of the woods, capable of producing damaging winds, 60 miles per hour, large hail. Large hail is what we've seen a couple of reports of out of this storm over the last few minutes. Let's take a look at winds once more. This is going to be likely from the Tulsa radar, it would appear. And yeah, there could be some winds coming out of it. Again, we're sampling kind of high up in the sky, not necessarily down at the surface level. The further north you get from the radar beam, you're looking just a little bit higher in the upper parts of the storm. And that's what we're starting to see. It's coming a little bit closer to that Missouri-Arkansas state line. Bella Vista, I think, probably has more likelihood to see an impact from this storm, to see the hail or the wind materialize than perhaps someone further towards the south. Gentry, you're not in the warning. Centerton, I don't think is technically in the warning, although it's pretty close. Perhaps it might actually be. Here's going to be your area of concern. If there is any rotation, it might be developing in this area, but again, it's not strong, it's not pronounced, it's nothing that I'm immediately in this moment concerned with, but we got to stay on top of it. It's possible that that changes. It is moving into an environment that is very unstable. So the Weather Service out of Little Rock had some interesting language that I agree with. We're pretty much sitting right under a powder keg of energy. The question is there going to be a match that is lit that sparks these thunderstorms? And there's a big question about that. If so, how many can get going? Right now, it's just this one, and the worst of it's in Missouri. That, given the warning, as we suspected might be, does include a lot of the hardest hit areas from this morning. We wanted to hop online and just give folks just a heads up. There's a lot of people outside picking up the pieces, but there's also a lot of folks that might be without power that may not be receiving warnings. So hopefully a Facebook notification came through for you, and we can track this with you over the next few minutes. If you're without power, of course, our free app streams us. You can stream us on Facebook, YouTube, anytime things get hairy, such as what happened this morning and what we could see even going into this afternoon, into this evening. Let's back up. Let's go. Let's look at that tornado watch one more time. Maybe we have some new folks that are just now joining us as we've been online. Tornado watch was issued a few moments ago for Delaware, Benton, and Carroll counties. You can see that here in yellow. It does extend further into Boone County, Baxter County. I think it includes almost every top county, every northernmost county in Arkansas, as well as a lot of Missouri. The severe thunderstorm warning includes about half of Benton County. You can see that outlined here in orange. Good chunk of 49 between, pretty much Rogers up through Bella Vista included in that severe thunderstorm warning. Right now, the pending concern, or the most pressing concern, is damaging winds and large hail. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1 1/4 inch hailstone, so slightly bigger than a quarter. It's not going to take a lot of wind to topple some trees over, simply because of how saturated it is outside. You know, we've seen a decent amount of rain over the last couple of days, few weeks really, and anytime that ground's that loose, what might take more wind, it just doesn't, because the root structure is just complicated. So it's not gonna take much. So we'll have to be mindful of that. I'm also acutely aware that there may be some trees that had sustained damage last night, some power lines, power poles that may not have come to the ground just yet. And now we might push a surge of breezy conditions, minimally, probably some severe winds into the area, and that can certainly shake up any of that debris that might be still hanging loose. Another hail report from Grove, that's going to be the same storm, suggests hailstones just shy of 2 inches in diameter. So that's a bit delayed. Likely that storm came through just a few minutes ago. Looks like that hail core's pulsing up here in McDonald County. Seeing those really darker blues there. You saw something pretty similar over Grove where that report came through. So we probably have some pretty large hail. And you can almost see that track of where that hail has gone. It kind of orients itself slightly to the south and east, more east than south, but there's enough of a southerly trend with that storm track that it's certainly possible that at some point we can bring that storm into Benton County. Right now, it's staying put in Missouri. It's going to be McDonald County Weather Service out of Springfield responsible for that, and they're maintaining their warning there as well. Stephen, I'm gonna pitch to you and let you do some analyzing of the storm.
Yeah, let's take another look at reflectivity real quick and show you kind of where the rain is moving right now. And a lot of folks cleaning up.
Okay, yeah, Stephen, your mic's not on. I'm gonna bring in some new information here. A brand new tornado watch just extended for Madison and Washington County. So looks like we have now included a larger majority. You see the brand new data coming in. Washington, Madison now included in this new tornado watch. Earlier it was simply Delaware, Benton, Carroll. Now we've included another row of counties. As this situation continues to unfold, we're going to need to stay on top of these rapidly changing conditions. Brand new, just into the Weather Center, out of the Weather Service, new tornado watch. I suspect that's also going to be in effect until 9 p.m. this evening. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be until 9 p.m., which is all the counties here shaded in yellow. 9 p.m., that's when the tornado watch should be allowed to expire. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, so obviously we just had that tornado watch extended now, including the same counties, almost the same counties that we had from earlier this morning. So Benton, Carroll, Washington, into Madison. Again, we're just tracking this one supercell right now that's showing maybe some slight rotation trying to form, but definitely just a very strong, healthy thunderstorm. And we take another look at reflectivity, or what we call rain mode, folks at home, and take another closer look at it. The rain may be just now creeping into extreme northern Benton County, but as this continues to track, it looks like it's going to take a easterly, southeasterly turn. Folks cleaning up in the Decatur area, folks cleaning up in the Rogers area. The supercell just to the north of you. Again, we could see the supercell shift right now, but you're not included in that severe thunderstorm warning right now. We are underneath that tornado watch until 9 p.m. this evening, though. So definitely something to watch as we continue to see potentially more cells try to pop up. We talked about the cloud coverage starting to bubble up across Benton County. Could see some of those thunderstorms developing as well. It's just something to watch right now. If we loop this and show you the track that it's taking, making that extreme, almost directly easterly turn, maybe just trying to make that southeastern turn. So I'm going to go ahead and track this out again. Again, just giving a folks who are outside right now trying to clean up in Benton County of a timeline of when this is going to be coming in back into your neighborhoods. We're not going to exactly follow the warning polygon. I think it's taken a little bit more of an eastern turn than what we have drawn out there. So Bella Vista 446, that's here in less than 10 minutes. Pea Ridge just before 5 p.m. Brightwater just after 5, and closing in on Beaver Lake once again closer towards 5:15. So this is our only supercell right now. Folks who are watching us on our live streaming platforms asking about the River Valley, we're not seeing anything right now. Again, this is a isolated cell only affecting northwest Arkansas right now. If we do start to see some of those thunderstorms start to pop up across the River Valley, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. But folks who are watching us right now, this is our only cell that we're tracking.
It's our only cell. We don't expect a lot of cells across our part of the area. There's going to be more further off towards the south and east. We might get a couple more to pop up. If they do, they likely are going to be severe. That's why the tornado watch is now being issued for us. Stephen, which radar are we looking out of specifically here?
Let's see here.
I want to make sure we're looking out of the Fort Smith. I'm looking at Fort Smith offhand over here, and go back in right here. Okay, right there. You see that starting to wrap up right there a little bit. Let's make sure we don't have any rotation trying to develop here. And it looks like we might. We might be having some rotation right here on the Benton, McDonald County line. There's some organization right here. Those colors are starting to come together, telling me that there's something trying to develop. And we go back to rain mode, and you're going to notice exactly where my hand is right here, that we're going to have a a bit of a hook trying to develop. This is going to be just to the northwest of Gravette. No tornado warning at the moment. That's not to say that that might not change in the near future. Could be having something trying to develop right here. Folks up in the booth, I want you to get ready to get me on Channel 5 as quickly as possible. I'm not ready to do that yet. I will let you know when. I also want our newsroom to touch base with our field crews out there and make sure we're staying safe. If someone could pop in my ear and let me know that that's happening. This storm is trying to turn a little bit to the right. You get a supercell that starts to turn right. That's one of the early indicators that perhaps it's going to try to produce some rotation. Looking at this, it's not strong rotation. It's nothing imminent at the moment, but the way it's coming together has me a bit concerned. There's a lot happening here in northern Benton County. A lot of folks trying to pick up the pieces, and that's something that I'm acutely aware of. It's also a holiday weekend. Despite the damage, there's probably still a lot of folks out on Beaver Lake. And this storm, you can see that classic hook right there trying to develop. Pretty healthy inflow right into that storm. That could be the early indicators that we might have a tornado warning in the next few minutes. It's not being issued yet. I keep looking offhand to see if they're typing it up. I don't think the rotation in of itself at this specific exact moment warrants it, but let me go back. Let's just see let me see this velocity, Stephen, if you could. We have new data that just came in. Okay, still looking like it was a couple of scans ago, so at least imminently, no new indicators of that. Gravette, Bella Vista, Bentonville, Pea Ridge, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds and large hail. That's the immediate concern. So folks that are outside need to be going ahead and moving to a safer location on account for the winds and the hail alone. Much less that potential to see something trying to spin up here in northern Benton County. A new velocity scan comes in. There's still some really broad rotation, but it's not tight and it's not strong at this moment. My fear is, though, that it very well could try to tighten up. If it is, we'll track that. We'll keep you posted and help you weather the storm. I know right now, I keep looking at my watch because I'm getting Facebook messages. There's a lot of folks that have some serious storm anxiety, and I understand that. I really do. And I want you to know that I'm right there with you. As I look at this, I have some concern growing for myself as well. We're going to get through it together. Now is not the time to let fear get in the way of just making smart decisions. Maybe you know someone that is out here helping, or maybe that is busy running a chainsaw, or maybe someone that's out on the water on Beaver here this afternoon. If we could, let's go ahead and make some phone calls. If you could help us out, make sure everyone knows exactly what's happening with this specific storm. Right now, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. It is trying to move into northern Benton County. Here's a bit of a hook. This is a little bit concerning to me. If there is something trying to develop, it would likely be happening right here, and there is some weak rotation being noted, essentially right on the Missouri-Arkansas state line, just to the north of Gravette, right in that general vicinity. I'm going to look at some offhand radar information. If that rotation's developing, it's pretty much right on top of Sulphur Springs. That's where I would expect that. It would eventually pass really close to Hiwassee and then moving into Bella Vista if that rotation continues to strengthen. And no indicator that it is at this moment, but that's not to say that a scan or two from now that may change. Tornado watch in effect for all of northwest Arkansas, parts of eastern Oklahoma, all of north central Arkansas. That runs until 9 p.m. this evening. Supercell has developed. It is capable of producing very large hailstones, upwards to 2 inches in diameter, in addition to 60 miles per hour winds, straight line winds. That's not something you want to be outside in. That's certainly something that's going to do some additional damage on top of what we've already seen this morning alone. Stephen, are you seeing anything?
Not right now. We're just keeping a close eye on chat just to see if they start typing anything up right now. We just got that latest scan on reflectivity right there, and at least based off of our rain mode, the notch wasn't as profound as that last slide, but still watching maybe the supercell try to rotate just a bit. We're going to bounce between. Actually, first I want to show you the hail core, start to see if we see that hail. Again, folks who are worried about that hail damage into the severe thunderstorm warning for Benton County, the hail core, the largest hail core, just to the north of the county line, still into McDonald County. So maybe starting to see some very small hailstones approaching into extreme northwest Arkansas, into northern Benton County. Bella Vista area, be prepared. You may be seeing some of that hail here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. But that hail core still very defined. You see that deep purple there near the Knoll area, traveling up on 49, crossing over 49 right now. That's where that significant hail is going to be. That doesn't mean it can't take that southeastern turn into portions of Benton County. If we take a look at velocity, let's try to see some rotation. It's very messy. I don't see any direct signs right now of maybe even a significant rotation, but there's might be something there trying to come up.
Yeah, probably so. I do think there's going to at least minimally be some mid-level weak rotation near Sulphur Springs. I do think the immediate threat that I'm afraid may very well impact Bella Vista, it's going to be the hail. If we could go back over, I know you just showed it, but if we look at the track, and maybe bump me down. Yeah, there you go. You can see the overall trajectory right through Grove. That's going to be Delaware County, right into McDonald County, and it starts to trail off just off towards the south. So we probably are going to get a couple more scans, and I wouldn't be surprised within the next 10 to 15 minutes we might have some hail starting to fall in parts of Benton County. Specifically, Bella Vista, I think is going to be where we might start to see some of those hailstones drop. Certainly further towards the east, Pea Ridge and Garfield. I think you're next in line with that cell as well. I'm going to loop this over the last 15 minutes, and we can kind of track that hail core as it moves off from Oklahoma into Missouri. It's now approaching the state line, and that's soon going to move towards Bella Vista. This specific hail core I don't think is going to impact Bentonville, but Bentonville's certainly in the severe thunderstorm warning that is still in effect. In fact, I've forgotten already when it is set to expire. That's going to be 5:15. So we have about 29 more minutes to go. Current time now 4:46 rather. It's currently 4:46. Watching a severe thunderstorm move into parts of McDonald and Benton counties, capable of producing large hail, damaging winds, and we're going to have to be mindful of a tornado potential. Not seeing any rotation with it, at least any organized, strong rotation. Nothing that tells me that we're going to see a tornado in the next few moments. I don't see that, and I hope that provides you some comfort. That's my hope here, is to provide you comfort, give you the information you need to make good, safe decisions for you and your family. Here's your hook echo right here. Looks like it's maybe trying to ingest this shower. Moving into it, you got strong updrafts, and that's where we start to see the hailstones developing in this region of the storm. They get so heavy that they become too large, or they weigh too much for the updraft to keep them up in the cloud. And so that updraft begins right in this general vicinity, and then they fall out, and it's called the downdraft region. That's where you see that hail core. It's going to get close to Bella Vista in the next few moments. Pea Ridge, I think the further south and east you can get, it puts you in more of a prime position to see large hailstones. And generally speaking, given the track of this storm, I do believe Pea Ridge is probably going to be in line to see minimally some very heavy downpours, probably some hail mixing in with this storm as well. Right now, this is the only storm. I know I'm seeing your comments. What about the River Valley? Look, I'm a River Valley boy, right? I'm keeping my eye on things for you. This is it. This is the only storm we've got right now. So we're going to stick with it. I'm keeping my eye on multiple radars over here to behind me. If anything pops, we'll go there and we'll keep you covered. The most pressing concern is going to be northwest Arkansas. This is moving through an area that was hit hard this morning. Perhaps radar indicated as much as 3 tornadoes. Widespread damage, probably widespread wind damage in addition to the actual tornado damage. A lot of folks out there trying to take advantage of what daylight's left to secure things, to put tarps up, to run chainsaws, to cut trees, clear roads, things of that nature. I'm seeing a report from McDonald County, a rotating wall cloud just west of I-49, west of the Bella Vista exit. So if here's 49, here's the Bella Vista exit. I certainly believe that there probably is a wall cloud in that general vicinity. I don't know what RDOT cameras we have that might provide us a view in that area. Perhaps we might get lucky and one of them may be oriented towards the west. I'm looking. If we can get somebody up in the booth that can be monitoring these cameras. So this one's looking towards the north out of the Bella Vista area. That's looking south. It's not going to help us. It's looking south as well. I'm going to keep my eye on this northern one. Not seeing anything on it, but it's a bit too low. So just got emergency manager reporting of a wall cloud developing in this supercell in the exact area where the hook echo is. There's no tornado warning on it at the moment. The rotation isn't the strongest. I know a wall cloud is a scary term, and I get it. I really do. A wall cloud isn't necessarily immediate danger, right? It certainly could be an early sign that that mesocyclone is trying to continue to organize itself and eventually drop something. And we want to know about wall clouds. We want to know if rotation's happening. But right now, the rotation on radar at this moment, not strong enough to indicate that a tornado will be dropping, at least in the next few moments. It very well could change quickly. I'm looking at rotation. I don't see a pronounced signature of rotation. I do think there's probably some damaging winds, some rear flank downdrafts, some winds coming out of the backside of that supercell, and given the updraft is as tall as it is, in fact, what I'm going to do is look at echo top. So these clouds are up to 45,000 feet. And anytime you get clouds that tall, right? The updraft that can support clouds growing to 44,000 feet. Just for some context, you may have heard me say this, just some comparisons. Commercial airliners, generally speaking, travel at about 30,000 feet. So we're looking at clouds that are significantly taller than where airliners travel. I think hail is going to be our primary concern at this moment. I continue to look at a lot of different pieces of data just to make sure nothing slips past us, and I think right now it's hail and wind. Tornado threat could increase over the next few minutes. Stephen.
We got a camera pointed into the storm on I-49, an RDOT camera.
Okay, let's take this RDOT camera. This is going to be I-49 looking
Central Ave.
From Central. Okay, and we're looking north, we say?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for working on that. It's tough to see. I'm going to step back, tough to make out without, we obviously can't control RDOT's cameras, but if there was a way to maybe tilt this up, maybe we could get a better perspective of exactly what we're looking at. Perhaps a little bit of a lowering in this general vicinity, nothing that screams to me that there's an immediate danger tornado-wise. I think hail is going to continue to be our issue. Stephen, yes?
Yeah, so we're just getting that RDOT camera adjusted there. Again, we don't have control over those RDOT cameras. They point them in that direction. Good news is get a little bit of a better view right now of what that storm structure may look like right now. Again, like Scott mentioned, not necessarily signs of any lowering, but this supercell definitely trying to rotate just a bit. And the hail concern is definitely going to be, last time we checked, still a little bit further north, McDonald County, but approaching the Bella Vista area. If you've got, you got some time before that hail core gets you, about 10, 15 minutes probably still now, before we get that hail core, and then we could be talking about some significant hail that could cause some damage, so you can move those cars around. You got a little bit of time in the Bella Vista area. Right now, what Scott is working on is he's working on some rotation.
Let's go back to Max 1, please.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that camera, if you guys could help me. So we're looking out of the Springfield radar, and that's really important because we're far away from the storm, and what this allows us to do is look higher up in the storm, and there is some rotation happening in the higher levels of that storm. You can see it spinning pretty much right on top of the Missouri Arkansas state line. It's in this general vicinity. The thing is, rotation happening high up in the sky is somewhat common. It happens a lot more than you'd even care to realize. So we got to just be mindful of, can that rotation make its way to the ground, or is this an elevated thunderstorm? Can it tap into some surface ingredients that would support that rotation lowering? Right now, that's not happening. And so right now, the primary concern continues to be large hail moving into the Bella Vista community, and eventually soon to be in the Pea Ridge area. Starting to see some of those blues make their way towards Bella Vista, now just on the east side of 49. You're going to have a lot of heavy rain as well. We had flash flooding this morning. That's something that very well could happen again, especially just given how much rain's coming out of that specific storm. The worst of the hail right now has been just to the north of Bella Vista in Missouri, just a hair across that state line. We will likely see that hail core continue to track east-southeast. That's going to take it closer to Pea Ridge. I do think maybe Garfield's going to be a little bit more prone to seeing some large hail with that specific system. Stephen, can you analyze this storm, please?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take it back to velocity. That's going to give us our best indication of any rotation that we're seeing. What we're looking for, and again, we're bouncing between radar sites here. What we're looking for is those greens and those reds to start to merge, and you'll definitely start to notice that hook if we start to see any signs of rotation. Right now, what we're looking at some cameras offhand here, is just not necessarily lowering, but definitely a supercell that's very strong right now, trying to create that rotation just a bit. Looking at our chat with the National Weather Service, let's see here, McDonald County Ambulance reporting a rotating wall cloud west of I-49 of Bella Vista. So it's rotating. Doesn't mean necessarily we're getting any lowering right now, but it definitely looks scary, right, Sky? I mean, it's for folks who have just went through this early this morning, last night, we're going through this similar situation again. Again, that tornado watch expanded into Benton, Carroll, Washington, and Madison counties until 9 p.m. tonight. So similar environment that can produce some rotating supercells.
Talking to our field crews, making sure we're keeping our folks safe as well. We are going to practice what we preach when it comes to storm safety. So I've been working with our crews here that are covering the storm damage. And of course, we'll have a full newscast coming up here in about 30 minutes that will have the latest on not only tonight's severe weather threat, but what the next few days looks like for the folks impacted by this morning's storms. Right now, we continue to track a strong thunderstorm, the worst of which is right now in Missouri, but it is taking an east-southeast track. You can see the general orientation of that warning polygon here in orange. Tells us that storm is moving east-southeast, more east than south, but enough that it will bring it into Avoca. It's going to bring it into Garfield. Here's 62, here's 71. Bentonville also included. Hard hit Bentonville this morning. You're going to have a strong storm get really close to you. I think you might miss more of the rain, the precipitation part of that storm, but nonetheless, it's going to come very close to Bentonville, and that's why you were included in that specific warning. Yeah, let's take a look at it from Jack Links. This is going to be here in Bentonville. This was very useful to us this morning. Very dark skies. And that's that storm approaching. As we pan the skies, taking note of any lowerings. I'm not seeing anything specifically yet. Of course, this is on the rooftop, so bear with us. This is going to be looking back off towards the west. If we can go back to the right just a bit, maybe a little bit more. I know that pole's going to get in the way. If we could, yep, okay. We'll keep our eye on this right here. Perhaps some scary looking clouds, SLCs, right? At this moment, that's all they are. But that camera looking back towards the west will definitely give us a pretty good vantage point of what we're seeing out this store. Let's take a look at the RDOT camera that's in that area if we could. That was going to be near the Bella Vista community. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. In the meantime, can we go back to radar? We're looking here, very strong thunderstorm moving through parts of Benton County. Hail likely falling in Bella Vista right now. That's going to be moving towards Pea Ridge. That's going to be moving towards Avoca, Garfield, Prairie Creek in the next few moments. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:15, I believe. Is that correct, Stephen?
Let's pull it up here again. This is going out until 5:15. Right now, severe thunderstorm warning up to 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, potential of half-dollar size hail.
Okay, looking live here from Central Avenue. This is going to be in Bentonville, off towards the west. You can see that's the leading edge of that thunderstorm. There are some little appendages here, and sometimes these get kind of scary looking. I don't see anything pressing with those. I know they look a little alarming, but I'm not seeing anything that would suggest to me that there's anything necessarily organized trying to come together with that specific storm. You get some of these little fingers on the front leading edge. They look scary. They sometimes get misreported as something more concerning than not. But right now, not seeing anything. What's that camera over there in the big board? What's the camera in the big board?
That's the, is that the college?
Take that, please. I want to see this camera here. We're looking on the underneath side of that storm. I don't see a low rain. If we can pan slightly back off towards the right. Tornado watch canceled for Delaware County. Looks like the cold front has moved through that part of the area, and that's going to be the case this evening as the front passes. If you get on the back side of the front, the drier and cooler air is going to mitigate your severe weather threat. And we'll see those counties dropped one by one until we're all clear this evening. Otherwise, I expect that watch to expire for your location at 9 p.m. It does continuing to include Washington, Carroll, Benton, and Madison counties, the far northwestern 4 counties in Arkansas. Okay, live radar, please. Let's take a look at Max 1. Rotation very weak, but it is still there with that system. This continues to be right now, at this moment, a very large hail threat. Looking in the Bella Vista community, you start to see some of those blues. Here's the state line right here. Here's Bella Vista. You got those blues pretty much moving right on top of you. Keep in mind this radar data slightly delayed, right? It's doing some analyzation of what's happening, and then we get the data to spit out. Meanwhile, while all that's happening, the storm continues to move, and so expect those blues to probably continue into the Bella Vista community. If you live along 71, you're likely going to be seeing some hail here real soon. The further north you are, the further you are, or the closer you are rather, to that state line, the likelihood of your hail being larger certainly increases. One of those roads there, that's going to be Scottsdale Drive, Highlands Boulevard, and Glasgow Road. These three right here certainly going to be impacted by those hailstones that are likely dropping out of that storm as well.
Yeah, so some large hail again just over the McDonald County and northern Benton County line right now. If we take a little bit of a wider look at this, again, folks living in Benton County, Sulphur Springs area, maybe seeing some small hail, but that hail core is really making a eastern, just slightly southeastern turn, Pea Ridge area over in the next couple of minutes, 10-15 minutes, maybe also getting some of that hail if that holds up its core. Right now you've got some time to move things around, but be on the lookout for the potential of some hail. There's that next update right there. Largest core of that is still remaining just north of the Benton County line into McDonald County, but still some significant hail falling right over the county line. So you got friends, families that live near the Bella Vista area, even north of it, right before you cross over into McDonald County. That's where that larger hail is right now, probably falling at the size with that blue return close to quarters at least, maybe even larger. Definitely where you see that purple still in McDonald County is where we're going to have the chances of some half-dollar size hail. So that's our hail threat right now. Bella Vista area, be on the watch out. Again, right now we're starting to see some of that hail starting to come down. If we come back to reflectivity, rain, heavy rainfall coming down in the Bella Vista area, crossing over I-49 as well, starting to see some of that heavier rainfall. Lots of lightning in the area. But again, while it may start to drop some appendages, you see those clouds in the sky look a little bit scary, not necessarily looking at any tight rotation right now. If we do start to get that tight rotation, one, Tulsa's going to notice it, and we're going to get that next warning. Right now, just hanging on to that severe thunderstorm warning that goes out at least for another 15 minutes, a little bit less than that, out till 5:15. If we go back into velocity, try to see if we can see anything here. It's messy. But
really weak at best. In fact, I'm analyzing some data. I got about a 2% chance that a tornado is imminent in the next few minutes.
Right.
That doesn't mean it doesn't go up. That just means right now a very low degree of confidence that anything's going to drop in the next few minutes. There sure is some really broad rotation moving just to the north of Bentonville, getting ready to move into the Pea Ridge area. This continues to be a hail threat. Hail starting to come down just a bit, barely, right? But we'll take any piece of good news that we can get today. At one point, about 10 minutes ago, estimated hail size north of 2 inches. Now we're just south of 2 inches, a little bit less. Still some large hail, right? I mean, we're talking hen egg size hail, mixing in with some quarters, of course, at times, and you're going to have some heavy rain as well. Let's go back to the hail detector. Let's see where the hail core is. Keep in mind, this is pretty much riding that state line, but you're starting to see some southern extent. I think Pea Ridge is probably going to see some of the larger hail that we might see over the next few minutes. That's going to be moving into your neck of the woods here real soon, if not already just to the north of town, starting to see some of those hail colors pull up. I've not seen a lot of damaging wind reports, although this storm is going to be capable of 60-mile-per-hour winds. A lot of lightning, and I hope if you're hearing the thunder, you're taking heed of the age-old advice. When thunder roars, go indoors. Look, I know it's cheesy, but a lot of folks out on the lake today, a lot of folks camping, taking advantage of the sunshine, maybe to pick up some damage, try to figure out what's next for the folks that were impacted by this morning's storms. It's not safe to be outside if you're in this morning polygon, given just the amount of lightning, the hail potential, and the wind potential alone. We've not seen a lot of rain move into Benton County yet, but if we do, then it's very plausible that we'll start to see some flash flooding issues. The storm's kind of slowed down. It's not moving near as fast as it was. In fact, at last check, speed had dropped to, let's see here, it's moving pretty slow, 45 miles an hour. I think at this point it's slower than that. I'm not seeing a lot of eastward progress. Looking between Springfield, looking between Fort Smith, just gives us different ways to analyze the winds. And weak at best near Pea Ridge. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a wall cloud still out there. Some concerning structure with the storm overall given its appearance, but in terms of winds coming together, tightly rotating, not happening right now at this moment. I do think we have very heavy winds and some large hail, blinding rainfall. That's likely. If at any point we want to take some RDOT cameras that are going to be in the path of the storm, just let me know. I'd like to get an idea of what's happening out there. Some of our Bentonville cameras, Jack Links, of course, has come back online, but downtown Bentonville Square took a direct hit with that storm this morning with regards to power, so we're not able to see what's happening there at the square this morning. Had some other damage reported in that general vicinity as well. Here's live radar. Here's Bentonville. You got a little bit of light rain. That's pretty much about it. Sulphur Springs, Bella Vista, heavy downpours, a little bit of rain near Gravette. I'm not seeing that classic Cook Echo. I'm not seeing that classic appendage that we were seeing earlier, and that's some good news for us. But overall, that storm continues to track east-southeast, more east than south, but enough so that we're getting some of that precipitation to really move into the Pea Ridge area. Probably going to get some hail picking up here real soon. Look at all those lightning strikes as well. Storm's electric. Probably going to hear a lot of thunder out there. Skies are going to get dark. Rain's going to slowly but surely pick up, eventually becoming very heavy, and that's where you start to see the hail mixing in. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. What could we be seeing here? Potentially some hail, I'm told, from folks up in the booth. Where is this camera? Is this Jack Links as well? Yeah, this is Jack Links. Okay, standing by for this camera. This is going to be one of the RDOT cameras, and yeah, you very well could be seeing hail. It's tough to see. It's kind of hard to make out. Is that just big old fat raindrops, or is that actually hail? I would suspect that there very well could be some hail falling. What's somewhat eerie when you have these isolated thunderstorms, you notice we got sunshine on the back side of it. And that's going to be what happens. Is the storm's going to blow through, it's going to get real dark, and the wind, the hail, the rain is going to pick up, and then it's going to move on through, and the sunshine's going to return, and it's going to be muggy up until the point that front comes through. Bella Vista just got a report of 1-inch hail 3 miles northeast of Bella Vista, which is really close to where this camera is probably going to be looking at. So likely, in fact, are seeing some hail continuing to fall out of that storm. Getting some Facebook messages out of Bella Vista also. It looks like Bella Vista also seeing some large hail coming down. Here's my cell phone number here at the station, 479-785-5000. Would love to see your reports. Flash flood warning now in effect for McDonald County. That's what I was afraid might happen, just given the slow progression and the high degree of precipitation that's happening. That flash flood warning right now only for McDonald County, but the more that storm moves in, we'll have to be careful to see if it actually starts to dump some rain into a pretty saturated area already. If we could go back to Max 1, please. You can see that maroon polygon. It's underneath the severe thunderstorm warning, but that includes a good chunk of McDonald County. We'll put this in motion over the last 15 minutes. Storm was moving quick, and now it's moving pretty slowly. Heavy precipitation continues in Bella Vista. 1-inch hail falling right now, according to storm spotters in that area. Bentonville at this moment looks to avoid the hail. Pea Ridge, I'm afraid you probably don't. Garfield, I'm afraid that hail probably moves your direction as well. Avoca, boy, it's going to be close for Avoca. I suspect probably we'll see some hail in Avoca. Garfield is going to be starting here real soon, if it hasn't started already. Bella Vista, Sulphur Springs, even Gravette. Hold on for a few more minutes. You're on the backside of this storm, so you don't have much longer to go before it moves out of your neck of the woods. It's moving slower than it was, which means I think folks are going to have to endure a little bit longer of this severe thunderstorm warning. It's the only one that we're seeing out there right now. I'm making sure nothing's popping elsewhere in the River Valley. I see your comments. I see folks wondering. There's nothing going on. It's warm. It's humid. In fact, Fort Smith set a new all-time record high temperature today. Not that anyone wanted to do that, but it was hot. It's muggy. It still is. Temperatures are going to come down. What's kicking up these storms, or this one storm, there's a cold front moving through. On the backside of that cold front, temperatures aren't going to change drastically. By tomorrow, we'll be 5 to 10 degrees cooler, still in the 80s, but the humidity will be much lower, so it's going to feel a bit more comfortable out there. Seeing another report, so now we have multiple reports of 1-inch hail. That's the size of quarters. This one going to be 2 miles west of Pea Ridge. So that's probably this general vicinity right here. Hail likely in Pea Ridge at this moment, just given the radar signatures here where that hail was. Yep. Oh boy, it may have come up as it moved into Pea Ridge. You see those darker blues extending a bit further towards the south. Garfield heads up. Let's get those cars in the garage, in the carports if you can. You don't have much time at all. You got a matter of maybe a minute or two at best before that storm moves into Garfield. Right now the time's 5:11. We have a newscast prepared for you to go on air at 5:30. I'm going to ride this out as long as I can, or at least until the threat has passed, before we have to switch gears and go on Channel 5. Of course, we'll continue covering tonight's severe weather, and we have numerous teams all across 5 country in some of the hardest hit areas that will bring you the latest status of damage from this morning's tornadoes, what folks need, how you can help, and what recovery may look like, as well as what local elected officials are going to be suggesting they do. We're going to be hearing from a lot of folks at 5:30. Stay tuned for that. We'll be broadcasting, of course, as normal on Channel 5. You can also watch those newscasts on our free 5 Plus app. It's available for download on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, of course, your cell phones. I've had a few messages, multiple today, that folks that don't even live in 5 country but have family that live in the area have been tuning in to stay abreast of what's happening. So if you're one of those folks, thanks for joining us. We'll try to keep everyone informed with what's going on. Right now, severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing very large hail. 1-inch hail has been falling in Bella Vista, likely falling in Pea Ridge right now. Soon, in the next couple of seconds, if not minutes, it'll be moving into parts of Garfield. In the next few seconds, you're going to see a new severe thunderstorm warning pulsing up that now includes Carroll County, as well as a good majority of Benton County. This new severe thunderstorm warning is also in effect for 1-inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and that's going to run until 6 p.m. this evening. Right now, the time's 5:13, so got about a little more than 45 minutes to go with this specific warning. It does include Eureka Springs. It does include Beaver. It includes all of Beaver Lake. I sure hope that if anyone's out on Beaver Lake, that they got our push alerts on their cell phones. If you know someone taking advantage of the Memorial Day holiday out on the lake. Let's make sure that they're seeking safe harbor real soon. This storm not only is going to dump hail, heavy rain, lots of lightning, that's dangerous in of itself, but the wind potential is there, no question about it. Let's take a look at velocity. I've not seen any rotation offhand, but there's maybe some broad rotation still happening there, but it's very broad. It's not tightly wound up, and this is also still looking pretty high up in the sky. We're kind of high up in the radar beam coming out of Springfield as that beam continues to circulate, looping it. Yeah, nothing too concerning at this moment with regards to rotation. This continues to squarely be a hail potential and a wind maker with this storm. Stephen.
Right now, go back to that reflectivity, see where that rainfall is coming down. Again, that flash flood warning just to the north of us into McDonald County. We are still seeing some of that heavier rainfall into Benton County as well. Won't be surprised if we get one of those flash flood warnings as well. We've seen a lot of heavy rainfall, not only from last night, but for the past, seems like several weeks, we've seen multiple systems come in, dumping lots of water for us. So again, we're picking up even more this evening. This is our only cell that we have right now. The broad rotation, so not looking at anything tightening up, is the good news. Lots of lightning still in the area, though, so folks who live into the Pea Ridge area, that's where the strongest portion of that cell is right now. If you're in Pea Ridge, that's where the heaviest rainfall is. Garfield, you're right down the line. Avoca, you're right down the line as well. That's going to cross directly over portions of 62. Brightwater, you're mixed in there as well. Gateway, so that's where that cell is moving towards the southeast. That's where that strong cell is going to continue to push, and that's also where that strongest hail core reading is coming from as well. We mentioned it ticked up a little bit, also taking a little bit of a southeastern dive. Pea Ridge, hopefully you were able to get those cars in. Right now we're seeing that potentially up to quarter size, maybe even larger hailstones when we get those deep blue returns. So Garfield, you only got a matter of minutes right now before that hail is going to be arriving into your area. Brightwater, most likely starting to see some of those smaller hailstones as well. Gateway, you got a little bit more time. But again, on the holiday weekend, folks that are in and around Beaver Lake, hopefully watching us right now are getting that push alert. That hail most likely looks like it's going to be trending towards the north side of Beaver Lake as it continues to push east into Carroll County. So folks on the water this weekend, hail threat is definitely the main concern right now. Also, along with that, though, is going to be the potential for some straight line wind damage, capable of producing those gusts 40, 50, up to 60 miles per hour. Folks in and around Benton County still underneath that warning. I'll tell you what, Bentonville, that hail core is further off towards the north. Little Flock, that hail core is further off towards the north. Centerton, further off towards the north. And again, we got to think about our folks that were hit pretty hard this morning. The Decatur area, I want to pull up reflectivity just to see. Okay, good news is even the rain's staying further off towards the north. So folks in the Decatur area, folks in the Rogers area where we had those strong storms push this morning, it looks like as its current track, it's going to stay off towards the north, continue to push towards the east. So hopefully we stay dry here as those cleanup crews continue to try to clean up that mess created this morning.
Stephen, I'm looking at some information, radar data suggesting perhaps hailstones as large as 2 inches in diameter. That's the radar estimates. I'm seeing numerous reports of 1-inch hail. So what may be happening is it may be so warm, it is hot outside, that some of those hailstones are melting as they make it to the surface, but obviously just not melting entirely. Still looking at 1-inch hail. That hail core, boy, as we expected, moved right into the Pea Ridge area. Avoca, it's on top of you right now. Garfield, more than likely, you've got hailstones falling, and that is going to impact a large chunk of Beaver Lake before eventually moving into Carroll County. Downstream from this does include Eureka Springs. If you're vacationing, spending your weekend in Eureka Springs, heads up, a severe thunderstorm moving your direction, capable of producing perhaps 1 to 2 inch size hail. Radar estimates 2 inches. The warning language itself for just simply 1 inch, but it just came up. You see that purple there? Boy, that's some large hail, and that's exactly what I was looking at just a second ago. You're exactly right, Stephen. Let's go tight on this. Here's Brightwater. Here's State Highway 62, Elkhorn Tavern. That hail core is right on top of 62 at Brightwater right now. This data is slightly delayed. Don't forget that. So imagine what's happening there. That storm continues to move. It doesn't wait for us to get a new data before, it's obviously continuing to move. It's going to be right on top of 62. Right now, very large hail coming down in addition to the 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be moving very close to Avoca. I do think Avoca is probably going to have some hailstones, the worst of which may pass just to the north of you. Still looking at a high degree of confidence that very large hail is falling out of it in addition to just the wind. You see this latest scan here, this core of purple. This is the hail core where the heaviest is likely falling. We've gotten a few reports out of Pea Ridge, a few reports out of Bella Vista of 1-inch hail. I believe that's a new scan that just came in. If we could, can you loop this for 15 minutes?
Yep.
Let's see if we can get a general track on where it's heading next. Based off of the loop alone. And then while we're analyzing that, Stephen, I'm seeing a bit more of an easterly turn, which may be good news for folks in Prairie Creek, but still into the severe thunderstorm warning. We track that out into the Garfield area. We track it out into Beaver Lake. Here's some times of arrival. Elkhorn Tavern, 5:18, Garfield, 5:21. Which is pretty much just mere seconds from now. Garfield Elementary School, 5:21. Lost Bridge Village, 5:27. Beaver Dam Site Park, 5:31. That's when this hail core is going to roll into your neck of the woods. If we got campers outside, let's go ahead and find a sturdy structure. You don't want to be in a tent with wind like this or hail like this. Definitely want to go to some of those facilities that are at some of those campsites and protect yourself. Definitely no immediate rotation. That's not our concern. Our concern is just the size of the hail potentially falling out of the storm. And with every radar scan that we get coming back, it's indicating stronger and stronger hail, and that just continues. Right now, that's going to be the most pressing concern. It's getting closer and closer to the lake. I'm not seeing any actual rotation with it. I keep looking offhand closely to make sure that that's not changing. It's a damaging wind. It is a large hail potential right now.
Yeah, Garfield, that large hail, looks like the hail core is going to be just off towards your west, but that's coming in, and probably you're seeing some smaller hailstones right now. Anticipate those hailstones, those larger ones, to come in very shortly. Again, out of time now to move things around. You got to get some shelter because these are some very large hailstones that will be damaging in and around, moving in between the Pea Ridge and Garfield area. Again, folks that are in and around Beaver Lake, that's where that hail core is tracking off towards right now. The Gateway community, maybe some smaller hail, that larger core just off towards your southwest. This is crossing right over 62 right now. Is that large, where we get that large purple reading coming back? That's anywhere between, Scott, probably up to hen size, maybe even larger right now, moving right over portions of 62 near Garfield.
I think it's probably right on top of Garfield right now, just knowing how delayed the data sometimes can be. Gateway, we're also seeing some hail falling. Garfield, you're probably in the middle of it. It's probably really loud right there right now. In addition to the large hailstones falling, your winds have picked up. There's some blinding rain, pretty severe thunderstorm, no question about that. And it's continuing to show decent signs of strength as it pushes into eastern Benton, soon western Carroll County. A lot of folks out on Beaver Lake, boy oh boy, I hope they've gotten the warning. If you're just now tuning in, here's what's happening. One storm, very strong storm, primarily producing damaging winds and hail. With that said, there is a tornado watch in effect, and you get watches issued when the environment could support the development of a tornado. We're not seeing rotation at this moment. I'm looking closely. I want to make sure we don't miss anything. I don't think we will. We got a lot of eyes on this, and everything that we're seeing indicates to me that this is primarily some hail and some very strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. This is large hail. This is going to cause some damage, right? You see those purples there? That's definitely quarter to hen size hail making it to the ground. If there's any hope, it's that given it is so hot outside, maybe some of it's melting. But even then, I'm confident, based off the reports I'm seeing that are being submitted by our storm spotters, that there are areas that hail is actually making it to the ground 1 inch in diameter.
Yeah, so only we have that hail threat right now, but if we bounce over to velocity, just want to make sure we're keeping an eye on things. You see all the lightning strikes in and around that area, so we've got a very loud thunderstorm moving into the Garfield area now, crossing over 62 near the Gateway community as well. So lots of lightning in and around that area, but also not seeing any broader signs of that rotation. So again, this is becoming a larger hail threat than it is any type of rotation threat as it stands right now. While we do have that tornado watch out until 9 p.m., at least this cell doesn't look to producing any type of tight rotation. Some strong wind gusts still mixed in there, probably gusting around 40, 50 miles per hour. The severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing up to 60, though. I think it's our main concern, Scott, right now has to be that hail that's going to be crossing. If it holds up its strength, it's going to be right on top of Beaver Lake here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's not going to be long at all. This storm has shown some signs of slowing down, but it's still moving at a quick enough speed that, yeah, you're exactly right. We don't have a whole lot longer to go before the worst of that is, at least on the northern periphery of Beaver Lake. No question about that. Really large hail returns coming in on the backside of that storm. Boy, that's going to continue to fill in as that data continues to stream into our weather systems right out of the Doppler radar. Here's what we need to do. Stephen, I'm going to let you take care of this. I'm going to go get in some communication with our radio partners that are simulcasting some coverage and needing some more information from us. So I'm going to let you handle this. I'm going to rejoin you here in just a few moments. And of course, we've got 5 News scheduled with a 5:30 newscast here coming up in about 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wrap things up here in a couple minutes. So we'll go ahead and give you an area-wide view. We'll get it back to our rain mode right now and take it across northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. We see your comments. We see you asking, what's happening across the River Valley? What's happening in other parts of northwest Arkansas? The answer is nothing right now. If we start to see some of those isolated thunderstorms start to develop, then that's when we'll start to give you a heads up. Hey, we could see some development down the line here. This is our only cell that we have right now that's in northern Benton County, now moving into portions of northwestern Carroll County as well. Folks, if you have friends, family in and around vacationing this weekend on the Beaver Lake area, while it's not there right now as of terms of those hailstones, it's going to be there in a matter of minutes. And right now, based off of our latest data that's feeding in, there's some pretty large hailstones mixed in there. So we just got that latest update, that latest scan. Let's go ahead and take it back into hail. And I hate to say it, but we are seeing some very large hail on the north side of Garfield, south side of Gateway. That's going to be crossing over of the northern edge of Beaver Lake. So this is going to be crossing over into Carroll County here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. And you see down the line there, not only a popular vacation spot of Beaver Lake this weekend, but also Eureka Springs. That's where that hail core is going to be tracking off towards. You got a little bit more time. Like Scott mentioned, it is showing signs of maybe slowing down just a bit. I want to get the latest speed on this, put a track into Eureka Springs, and then we'll have to wrap things up here and continue our coverage on your 5 News at 5:30 here in a couple minutes for 3.5 minutes here. So let's get a track real quick. That is moving east at 45 miles per hour. If we draw this out, that's going to be arriving into Eureka Springs in close to 5:41. So you got about 15 minutes or so, a little less than that, before we start to see some large damaging hail moving into the Eureka Springs area. Beaver Dam Site Park at 5:33, Clear Springs School at 5:40, and the Eureka Springs Middle School at 5:43. All right, so we have to wrap things up here because we have to get into our 5 News at 5:30. Again, one cell that we're tracking right now that's in portions of Garfield right now in the Gateway community, northeastern Benton County, and moving into Carroll County here very shortly. Continue to follow us on our 5 News at 5:30. We'll keep on tracking this cell. As of right now, though, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and get ready for our newscast.